Insert.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So there were several speakers at day 2 of the RNC that focused on the specific theme last evening, which was to make America safe again, make America strong again. You heard from family members, poignant stories from family members who had been victimized by Biden's open borders policies, essentially. Mm-hmm. A California mom whose son was poisoned by fentanyl.
You had Rachel Morin's half-sister. She spoke on her behalf.
As well as sort of the general lawlessness of non-prosecution, decarceration, defund the police, prosecutors in places like New York and Chicago and L.A. That's specifically called out by Madeleine Brame, whose son served our country honorably overseas in Afghanistan, was killed on the streets of New York, and the perpetrators under-prosecuted, to say the least, by Alvin Bragg there. We know that all too well with Kim Foxx in Cook County. But it was Marco Rubio who had an appeal to the larger theme of the Trump candidacy. Frankly, a theme that hasn't changed in the past 8 years, despite every effort by the uniparty, if you will, to alter the course of Trump and Trump's electoral prospects.
There is absolutely nothing dangerous or anything divisive about putting Americans first. Who do we come from? We come from pioneers who ventured west to chase their dreams, and slaves who overcame bondage to claim their right to the promise of America. We come from exiles who fled tyranny in search of freedom, and of immigrants who left behind all they had and knew because they could not be or achieve God's purpose for their life in the nation of their birth. That is an American. And putting Americans first must be what this election is about. The only way to make America wealthy and safe and strong again is to make Donald J. Trump our president again.
There you go. And there's the money line. So that was not inconsistent with what other Republicans vanquished in primaries by Donald Trump said, including, of course, Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley most recently, who spoke yesterday as well. For more on this and other matters, including her reporting on the failed assassination attempt on President Trump over the weekend, we're pleased to be joined by Susan Crabtree, who is RealClearPolitics.com's national political correspondent, and she is in Milwaukee at the convention. Susan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You know, I mean, I suppose were it not for the failed assassination attempt, which is not something that is inconsequential, what we've heard so far at the convention is not dissimilar to what we heard 4 years ago or even 8 years ago. It really is, it's almost striking that, yes, some of the names are changed. The stories really haven't that much. Obviously, challenging an incumbent presents some, peculiarities different than 4 years ago or 4 years before that. But I mean, Trump's presence the last 8 years, it's been the message that Marco Rubio basically delivered last night, hasn't it?
Yeah, I absolutely thought with some new faces that were really emerging from the party, Vivek Ramaswamy, I felt like he had the best speech of the night, really brought down the house, and he was basically telling the new generation of voters that if you really want to be radical, if you really want to be a hippie, actually embrace this movement, want to get married, have children, develop your Christianity or your religious commitment, and that will make you a rebel at your universities. I thought he did a really good job in terms of immigration too. He said, we are a party of immigrants. We're not pushing them away. It's just that you have to come here legally. He was a very dynamic speaker, and really enjoyed him. And also, Sarah Huckabee Sanders looked more stunning last night, and she was really appealing to the voters that Trump has some problems with in suburban women voters. And she put on a wonderful face for it. Had some funny lines, and it was a good speech.
I love the story how she said her 4-year-old son came to work and Trump leaned down because he was running right for Trump, and Trump, being the nice man he is, got on his knees to hug him, and then he blew past him and ran into his mother's arms.
Yeah. Yes, the leader of the free world he didn't matter at that particular moment. He just, motherhood matters. It was a cute moment, and you had this dynamic. The one thing I really noticed throughout this week is sort of a changed composure, at least, of Donald Trump since the assassination attempt. Obviously, even Don Jr. is tears in his eyes. They wanted to do a reset. Chris LaCivita and Susie Wiles, Trump's top aides, campaign aides running the campaign, really wanted him to have this be a reset moment and focus on unity. And it's a different tone than I've ever experienced. We'll see how he channels that in the final night, the former president himself. But it's very positive, and it's not angry.
And by contrast, Biden is trying to round off the edges. But for example, in his remarks at the NAACP convention in Vegas yesterday, and then the interview he did with Black Entertainment Television, he really can't. They're sort of in a box in so many ways. They're in a box in terms of personnel. They're in a box in terms of message, too, because the theory has been the entirety of his campaign, we have to make Donald Trump box office poison. We have to vilify him, Hitlerize him as much as possible so that it's a referendum on Trump and people reject Trump. It can't be a referendum on me because that's not the path to victory. And now they're stuck. They're stuck with a guy that at least some of them don't want, and a message that they sort of realize they can't sell.
Well, they can't sell the democracy, that Trump is a threat to democracy, when they are not using the democratic process it appears that they're going to depart from the normal democratic process to try to elect a new nominee. There's still a movement afoot. So how can they be saying that the Republican Party is a threat to democracy when they are rejecting the nomination process that got them Joe Biden, and are shuffling around to look for a more viable candidate?
Right. The Trump Vance ticket is solidified, but the Biden-Harris ticket is still up in the air, and Harris might end up on top of that.
Well, what really is the status of that? Because, Biden is doing an effective job of being ubiquitous now, right? He's doing all these interviews. He's on the trail. He's sort of crowding out a lot of at least public conversation about a replacement, and trying to present himself as he said with Lester Holt the other night, having command of his faculties, which is an odd thing for a president to have to say. And so it seems to me that the failed assassination attempt on Trump puts Biden front and center, giving national addresses. He's out campaigning now. It seems to be the Trump-Biden binary again. How much, what percentage do you give the prospect of replacing Biden?
Well, it's interesting that Axios Politico is out with a new poll this morning, and they're saying that Biden, other alternatives to Biden are doing better than Biden. Finally, we're seeing that in the polls, that there is a shift, and people are. The article predicted that they would move after they're letting the Republicans have their convention, and then as soon as that dies down, you're going to see a resurgence of this idea to get another person on the ticket. And interestingly enough, some of the main contenders, Gavin Newsom was not among those names that they were suggesting. Gretchen Whitmer was, and Josh Shapiro was. But some of the regular suspects are falling off because of the obvious problems with California and the collapse of that state. California has never produced a vice president or president for the Democratic Party in modern history, ever.
Well, here's the other thing now, too. But Gavin Newsom's out there. I'm all in for Biden. And others are saying that sort of too. And Bernie Sanders wrote a response op-ed to George Clooney's op-ed. And it's all very muddled. But the other thing now is, after that failed assassination attempt, if you're Josh Shapiro or even Gretchen Whitmer, or maybe even Kamala Harris, do you really want to run into this buzzsaw? You may in some polling be doing slightly better than Biden, but I've seen some polling on these other candidates that they're not doing very well. And I actually saw Kamala is down 10 in Georgia, where Biden's down 3 in recent polling. But do you really want to run into this buzzsaw and end your political career here?
No, it's a political calculus. A lot of them want Biden to go down with the ship, and run again. They want to run again in 2028.
Right.
Or run in 2028. They want to be on that ticket, so they have a fresh start. But that's sort of expedient. If you care about your party, don't you want to get in and try to save it?
Well,
I think.
Yeah, but it's what they say publicly versus what we really know about their ambitions, and it's their ambitions that drive their decision making, not their pro forma statements publicly about, I care about the party, I want to save democracy, but it can wait 4 years. I'll save it in 4 years.
So then Trump is not as much of a threat as you're saying to democracy.
Right.
Well, and then there's a report this morning.
You're heading for the hills.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting. A report this morning from the Puck saying that an hour before the assassination attempt, Biden held a what they call disastrous Zoom call with moderate Democrats. There were 50 of them. They said, quote, it was even worse than the debate, that he stumbled through answers. He was rambling. He'd start an answer, then lose his train of thought, then just say whatever as he lost, what he was talking about. So they
he also said that staff passed him a note that said, stay positive and you are sounding defensive, and he read it out loud.
Oh, dear Lord. And they said
yes,
and one congressman said
reported,
Trump, there'd not been an assassination attempt on Trump. Those 50 people were ready to come out publicly against him.
The 50 people he talked to in the New Democrats?
Yeah, all the Democrats said he was on that Zoom call. They were about to come out publicly, but then the assassination attempt happened.
I don't know. That was the Congressional Progressive Caucus he was on with, and that's his backstop right now is all those deep leftists, right?
Yeah, you have Jim Clyburn saying, "We're riding with Biden," but he wasn't smiling when I said it. Mm-hmm. So I think he'd be just as happy. How he was so instrumental in getting Kamala on the ticket to have anyone else, because they know in their heart of hearts that he's not going to be able to do this for maybe any amount of time, if he gets elected. So if he's not viable, if he has to curtail his public schedule every day, and he has to, he's doing that now. What is he going to be like in 1 or 2 years? It doesn't make any sense.
He shouldn't be in office.
I do think.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Susan.
No, I was just saying that the assassination attempt put a hold on everything. But I am hearing, there's rumblings again that they're going to come out. The Democrats are going to come out, like you said. They're just holding their fire right now because there's no reason to be detracting and creating disunity in their party when Republicans are more unified than they ever have been in recent years.
Right, and so, but if that movement does get restarted after the RNC, for the people that want to make a change, do they really believe they can install someone other than Kamala?
Well, the money issue, there is a money issue. I wrote a piece saying that certainly Kamala's star is rising, Newsom's star is fading, because they can't get around the whole. We have $250 million, and you're going to take that off the table because it has to go to Kamala or Biden, or else. But then you had that story come out that some of that money, it was like 45 billions. Sorry, not billions.
Million, yeah.
Millions, tens of millions were pledged, and that the donors were going to yank that if they don't replace Biden.
Yeah. Like I said, they've really put themselves in a corner. It's difficult. They're sort of like Schrodinger's cat right now. It's going to be difficult to see how they navigate or it will be interesting to see how they navigate this, because it doesn't seem like there is an obvious play for them that improves their prospects. But we shall see. Susan Crabtree, RealClearPolitics.com's national political correspondent, who comes to us from Milwaukee, where she is covering the convention, of course. Susan, thanks for joining us. We'll continue to enjoy your reporting. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Check out my Secret Service reporting. I've been focused mainly on that this week. Lots of lapses, lots of chaos.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much, Susan. And she joined us on our turnkey .pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you a driver of a Ford PowerStroke diesel engine? Tired of taking your Ford PowerStroke diesel in to be misdiagnosed or paying for repairs that don't fix the problem? Well, bring your vehicle to the diesel headquarters, Remke's Garage. The shop is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. Remke's Garage specializes in Ford PowerStroke, Chevy Duramax, Dodge Cummins, Mercedes Sprinter, and